Hi there. Welcome to Bible/Chat. Gus,
We haven't done this in a
long time no chat. How are you?
I was just telling you, I think I found some new gray hair since we last time we...
I found some new hair. No, actually, I haven't. I've lost some. It's bad. Even in this lighting, I mean, it's just uncomfortable for me.
I think the lighting doesn't help.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yes. I think I need more rest. I need to take a Sabbath.
That was good. That's a good segue. Very good segue. I kind of wanted to ask you a question about the Sabbath. Someone who shall remain nameless because I don't know their name.
Yeah.
Asked a question about the Sabbath.
Okay.
And you were dying to answer this question because you're like bothering me about it.
Yeah.
Well, I've been busy doing other things.
Yeah.
So let's tackle that on. So what about this?
So it's a good question. So just real quickly, I mean, a lot of there's like three categories here. First is historically, the Protestant church has really much of the Protestant church has observed the Sabbath.
Yeah.
And the reason for that
the Sabbath being what? Let's just get back to
Shabbat, Saturday in Hebrew, the day off, the seventh day of the week. God creates the heavens and the earth in 6 days. On the seventh day, he rests. He codes that into creation. He says the seventh day is a day of rest. For you, Jewish people, this is what's coded into creation. For you, you should follow my example and rest on the seventh day. He says it's not rest from anything. It's just rest from work so that you can focus on worshiping God.
Yeah. I think you're doing a good job.
Okay, good. If there's anything to add, just jump in.
No,
okay, so then he makes that a perpetual legal code for Israel. You have to observe the Sabbath. He even says even the land should be given Sabbaths. So he builds rest into the life of Israel, and he does it for good purposes. It's to restore. It restores the land. It restores the people. The people have
trusting in the Lord as well.
Trusting in the Lord for His provision. Yeah. So a number of good things that come out of that. Get to the New Testament and here we are. We're not Sabbatarians in our current day and age. They were in church
If anything,
history.
we work on Sunday.
And if anything, you and I especially. Sunday is our work day. But in years past, Sabbath was part of the life of the church. Yeah. There's kind of a holdover in some of those things from the Old Testament. So the question was, why don't we observe the Sabbath? And then, is there any principle that the Sabbath should hold? Well, for starters, we don't observe the Sabbath because it's never restated in the New Testament.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to put it as simply as possible. The 10 Commandments are 9 of the 10 are all restated in the New Testament. In Romans chapter 12 and 13, Paul restates 9 of the 10 commandments, and he tells us these are the things that we should be doing. And those are God's moral character. Yeah. And so God's moral character carries into the New Testament for us as those who are in Christ. Why not the Sabbath? Well, there's a couple reasons. One is the entire Mosaic law is fulfilled in Christ. Yep. When Jesus fulfills the law and then we are in Christ, we now become law keepers, even though we don't keep the law in the specific detail. So Christ fulfills the law for us, and in fulfilling the law is now made null and void. Yeah. We get placed in Christ, and now we're under Christ, and we're under the law of Christ. So there's these new things that come into the New Testament. We don't kill people for picking up sticks on Saturdays because this new system has come into the new covenant where now we dwell with Christ himself, who is the perfect law keeper. Yeah. So we're no longer under those things. And it doesn't get repeated because the New Testament authors actually make some changes. They start gathering on the first day of the week, not the last day of the week. Yeah. And they do that because of the resurrection of Christ. So you have changes in the way that the church functions in comparison to Old Testament Israel.
Yeah.
So is there anything to do with the Sabbath? Yeah. Well, we would say two things. Number one, the idea of rest is still a good idea.
Yeah.
We need to rest. You and I, we both need to rest.
We had a
conversation with this. But you and I work on Sundays.
Yeah.
We can't be Sabbatarians in that sense. Yeah. In a very real sense, I take Saturdays off. In a very real sense, I am, in a sense, a Sabbatarian. I don't work on work stuff on Saturdays. Does that mean that
unless there's an emergency?
Unless there's an emergency. Does that mean we never work on Saturdays? Well, no, we work on Saturdays sometimes. If there's a need, we do it. It's fine. It's not wrong for us to do that. Ancient Israel, evil to do that.
Yeah.
Modern day, in the New Covenant, it's not evil anymore. Yeah. So we're able to still function that way like that. But the principle that we ought to have a period of time when we're not under the yoke, so to speak, of work is an important principle. Yeah. So we would say, yes, there's a moral principle that's there. And we should obey that. Yeah. We should rest. That's the first thing. Second thing is, is there a text that would inform that?
Yeah.
And we would say yes, there is. So the one that I wanted to point out, there's actually a few, but the one that I want to point out is Hebrews chapter 4. And he says, it's very interesting. He's talking about the Sabbath. He's talking about the believer's rest. And he says that Jewish people were not able to enter into the rest, which by that he means the promised land.
Yeah.
He says they weren't able to enter into the promised land. And we don't have time to do all of this, but he says there is actually a rest for the people of God. And in verse 8, he says, if Joshua had given them rest, that is the land, he would not have spoken of another day after that. So there's something that's coming that's greater than just the land. What is that? Well, he says, verse 9, there remains a Sabbath rest for the people of God. Well, what is the Sabbath rest for us who are the people of God? And the answer is in verse 10. He says, for the one who has entered his rest has himself also rested from his works, as God did from his. Well, what's he talking about? He's saying our Sabbath rest is actually resting in the finished work of Christ.
Yeah.
It's not me anymore. My relationship with God is not about my works in any way.
Yeah.
It's actually entirely just resting in the finished work of Christ. And my responsibility then is to say, is to lean on Christ and say, Lord, apart from you, I can do nothing.
Yeah.
I am a broken person. I rest in you and what you've done for me.
Yeah.
Which is the greatest rest of all, actually. The greatest rest we could possibly have is just knowing we can lean on Christ for everything that we need, and not only in our lives, but in righteousness, in our relationship with God. Everything comes to us from Christ. And so we are able to rest in him. And that is the ultimate Sabbath rest for the people of God.
Yeah.
That's where all of that rest is pointing. It's pointing to that reality of us resting in the finished work of Christ.
Yeah.
So even the Old Testament was designed, the Sabbath in the Old Testament was designed to make them see their dependence on God. As you said, trusting in God.
Yeah.
And now we find our dependence in Christ, and we have our Sabbath rest in him. We're no longer under the obligation of a seventh day of rest in our calendar weeks, but we are called to rest in the finished work of Christ. And in doing so, then we're able to work with freedom because we have joy coming to us from the rest that Christ has provided.
It's really interesting to me, to your point, that there is even from the Old Testament, there is this understanding from the people of God that they're supposed to rest. They're supposed to lean onto rest. And even you're seeing this, and exemplified specifically in the Mosaic Law. So much so that not resting showed a rebellious heart. Right, that someone could be put to death if, like you said, they're picking up sticks. For the example that you see in the Pentateuch. And then you move all the way to Christ, right, who is fulfilling the law. So no longer we are under the Mosaic Law. The law is fulfilled. We are already Sabbath keepers in that sense. But now as we transfer that after the cross, like you said, we are actually leaning onto the rest, but not just a physical rest, but a spiritual rest, which was what Israel was supposed to be.
Totally.
Israel was supposed to receive that rest from Joshua, which the writer of Hebrews points out Jesus is better than Joshua, who was supposed to give you rest, but he didn't give you rest. So
he didn't give you ultimate rest.
So you receive quote unquote rest, but you keep getting tired.
Exactly.
You can say that.
Exactly.
Or like for us, you can work 7 days a week. It's nice to take Saturdays off or Sundays off, but the idea there is more than just a physical rest. It's a spiritual rest that is forever, right? We have entered into that rest.
Exactly.
As the writer of Hebrews says.
Isn't that
which is super.
And what it does is it informs us about how God sees work too. It's not about the activity of your hands. It's about what does your heart do.
Exactly.
If your heart is resting in Christ, you're actually observing the Sabbath in that sense, even as you're working. You can do both.
But it's interesting that in the Old Testament, it was the same way, right?
Yeah, totally.
God didn't need rest from creation, but the fact that he rested to set a precedent shows us that what he's doing is more than just 6 days of work.
He's not exhausted.
He's not exhausted. He can't. Right? He is God. So for us, it's the same way where we are actually resting spiritually. We're actually walking in the same footsteps of as the Godhead did, as they were as rested from creation,
from
which
the
is
works
amazing.
of creation.
Which is incredible to think about that.
Yeah, it's glorious.
That's a great question.
Yeah, it's a super good question.
I can tell why you wanted to answer it.
See, it's beautiful. Anyway, okay, good. Well, I hope that's helpful for you. If you have any questions on this or any other topic, you can always email us at info@faithbibleoc.org. Thanks so much.